What's up, Bears fans? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down one of the more interesting and intriguing moves that the Bears made in the NFL draft. The first three picks of the NFL draft, the Bears went offense, 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 and people were starting to get worried. Would they target the defensive side of the football? Would they get an edge rusher? Would they get a defensive lineman? Well, they got a versatile defensive lineman, one of the four guys that were drafted by the Texas A&M D line. At number 62 overall, the Bears selected Shamar Turner, which again is a very, very intriguing option because with what Ben Johnson is building on offense, Dennis Allen needs to build it on defense, and he needs to start adding pieces that can help the Bears because late in the season last year, the defensive line got ripped apart. Obviously, they signed Dio Dengbo to play defensive end opposite Montez Sweat. They let Demarcus Walker go. They brought in Grady Jarrett to mix in, and now they've brought in Shamar Turner, which is an important pick because again, it's still a second round pick, 62 overall. So it's a big investment into someone that has played both defensive end, defensive tackle, five tech, one tech, three tech. So again, it's going to be a very interesting one. Turner is a very versatile defensive lineman, can be placed all over. He's explosive, he is nasty, and these are some of the things that you really want. Can the Bears really mold him into the player that they need? Can they get rid of some of those undisciplined actions that we've seen throughout his career in Texas A&M at different stages? It's not every single game. It's not consistently bad, but it's something that does have to get they have to get rid of. The one thing that we were told is the Bears need to get younger, faster, tougher, and more disruptive in the trenches. And that's what they've been able to do with Turner here. It's what they've been able to do by adding Grady Jarrett and Dio Dingbo. So who is Shamar Turner? Well, again, as we said, versatile defensive tackle. He's 6'4", 290 pounds. He's played all over for Texas A&M. Early on, about I think it was like a year or two ago, he played defensive end. He's very high. He was kind of that hybrid player. Would come inside, would go outside. He's very explosive off the snap. Like you can tell that he was a defensive end for a period of time, even when he was playing in the middle. But really, he's played edge and all interior roles. He probably projects best as like a three tech or a five tech on in a four-man front. But again, it just depends on how the Bears are going to maneuver this. Again, Dennis Allen is very versatile with how he likes to play his different fronts, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Um, the downside of this that people will see from just looking at the numbers, the production doesn't particularly jump off the page, right? Like you can see from the stats beside, this is within his 4 years. So he's had 34 starts, which is pretty decent. I think it's 3 years. He has 10 sacks but 7 penalties. 10 sacks over a 3 or 4 year period is not something to write home about. But when you do turn on the film, you do see a guy that is a disruptor. He plays the pass really well. He plays the run quite well. He likes to reset the line of scrimmage. And again, the one thing I like is he does show a good motor. He is that kind of leader and he is explosive and he is trying to get into the face of the offensive lineman. Sometimes he does take it too far. And that aggression, that nastiness needs to be molded and it needs to kind of it needs to be protected to a point to where it's not going to bring a lot of stupid penalties that could cost you the game. And that's what the Bears coaches are going to have to get out of him, but keeping that edge that he plays on, right? So at 62 overall, you're looking for a guy that can contribute very quickly. The Bears are building this future around Caleb Williams. They're trying to mold this offense, but you're not going to go anywhere if your defense isn't very good. So what they're showing here with some of these moves is they are not ignoring the other side of the football. They've added players, like we said, Grady Jarrett, Dio Adingbo. You already had Montez Sweat. You had Javon Dexter. You had Andrew Billings. So now you're just adding another guy in Turner that is a young, versatile, and physical presence on that offensive line. And really now on the inside, you have Turner, Javon, Grady Jarrett, and Andrew Billings. Maybe you could use another kind of one tech or nose tackle, but we'll see if the Bears do that. This is Dennis Allen's influence, getting multiple guys that can play that. He wants to play multiple fronts. He likes these violent defensive linemen, and he likes to keep a deep rotation in order to keep these offenses off balance. And you saw that even with the Eagles pretty much. And this is where I think Turner does fit what the Bears are going to be doing, and it's not a surprise to why he was drafted. Let's talk a little bit about the scheme. So why I think he's tailor-made for Dennis Allen. Allen's defenses have always relied on smart. Well, that's something. Disciplined D linemen who can move around. So this is something that he will have to learn. He needs to keep his discipline a little bit more than he's shown in college football. Now, like I said, it's not a consistent thing you see with him. It's just there's times where he loses it and he gives away a stupid penalty, and he needs to be careful. Dennis Allen likes to play multiple techniques and win with power and finesse with his defensive linemen. Turner does check those boxes because of how aggressive he is. That first step explosion, the fact that he's played both edge and defensive tackle really does help in that regard. You could play him in multiple fronts. You could play him in base. You could play him as a 3-tech on passing situations. Even you can make him part of like a NASCAR package. He's not a raw athlete. He's technically very solid. And for the most part, you would say he is NFL ready. But the question is just going to be, how does he develop? The great thing is that he's learning behind a guy like Grady Jarrett, who has done everything in this league and has a similar skill set to what Turner gives. What Turner will give Dennis Allen is that flexibility, a guy that can play on the outside, can play in the middle, and again, keeping that rotation going. You have obviously the Bears spent the $40 million on Dio Adingbo. He's going to be the defensive end across from Montez Sweat. They've now spent multiple resources on the interior over the last couple of years. And again, this is trying to shore up that defensive line so you don't have a complete capitulation like we saw at the end of 2024. And that's going to be very interesting. The one thing that you could say about Turner, at the very least, I think early on you have a guy that can be a rotational player with the likes of Javon, with the likes of Grady. The key is that, or the goal should be that Javon's going to be here long term, Shamar's going to be here long term, and they can both learn from Grady Jarrett and both be very good. The one thing I do like is that he has the tools to be your starter. Now, he needs development. He has the heavy hands. He has good pad level. He does have room to grow as a pass rusher. As we can see, the production hasn't been there, but it's going to be interesting. If anybody can get that out of him, it'll be Dennis Allen. And that's what I'm excited about, to see what he can do with some of these young players. Not just when you talk about Shamar, you're talking about Javon, you're talking about Zach Pickens, even Dio is still pretty young. He's only 25 years of age. So there's a lot of young players in this defensive line. It's going to be interesting to see what Dennis Allen can do to try and mold these guys in the way he wants to play defense. But overall, I think it's a good pick. Was it the best defensive tackle that was available out there at the time? It's hard to know because it was such a deep position. I think in terms of the production, people will say no. But the question is going to be, he has the traits to be very, very good. And now it's just going to be about the development. Did the Bears get a steal? I don't think so. Did the Bears get a quality player at the position that they've drafted? Yes. But the question is now going to be, can he develop properly? And that's what's going to be very, very interesting. Look, drop a comment, hit like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more Bears coverage, and especially us talking about the 2025 draft breakdowns. There's going to be more breakdowns on the day 3 picks probably within the next few days. We'll have a live show breaking down all of the different selections. We're going to work to have some of the beat reporters on for the different schools that these guys have come from. So look, I really do appreciate you guys checking it out. If you haven't checked out the video on Colston Loveland, Luther Burden III, or Ozzy Trapilo, please make sure that you do. Because again, we want to be able to provide all this analysis for you guys. We'll do a live show pretty soon, so you guys can get your comments in as well and get your opinions in. But until then, we're going to be doing videos tomorrow and the next day on the day 3 pick. So do stick around for that. And until next time, again, just bear down, folks.